good day, eh? Another sunny day in Vancouver. Yeah, just what we're known for. Anyway, today I want to discuss with you the plans you have in place for your son or your daughter going back to school. Now, as your son or daughter get into high school age, hopefully they're able to make decisions and deal with their blood sugars accordingly. But youngsters in primary school, nursery school, aren't always 100% sure. And some of them, if they've just recently been diagnosed, may not know what's going on. So what do you do? Well, first of all, with pumps nowadays, a lot of them can go and let you take a look on your phone what their blood sugars are at. Now, I've seen parents and write out exactly what was in their lunches and what the carb count was, so their son or daughter could figure out how much carbs to type into their pump or how much insulin to give manually. But I'm a lot for that, but you should be willing to give it up as soon as possible. And I don't mean by rushing it in any ways. Because you don't want to set your kids free, and they may look like they have been doing things all right, but learning from experience, it's not always the case. Hell, even in high school, I could still have got guidance. And there were one of my years in high school, I think it was grade 9, I thought I had enough instruction and I knew what was best. So I went on my merry way. When I went to see the doctor said something. Oh yeah, okay. But I never followed it. I was always hungry. I was still kind of unstable. I had just gotten diabetes a few years early. So maybe not a parenting hand, but more as a friend or neighbor. Now, the biggest thing I can remember going to a birthday party, my birthday party in fact, and the person hosting the party said, oh, well, you can't have any cake, you're a diabetic. You don't know how bad that hurts. Especially when all your friends and family are able to eat cake and you get to sit there and watch. But granted, that was a lot before patients were taking control of their diabetes. And I think kids and teenagers should learn how to control it. So, things to actually say to your child, your son or your daughter, don't say anything accusing. Like, what the hell did you do? What the hell did you eat? Doesn't really help the child. Sometimes with diabetes, and I've mentioned this before, things happen. Hello, and you need to talk through it and saying, well, last time this happened, you did this. And like I said before, it's important that you have plans set in place and get them written down. So that's the first thing that we need to put in our box for our school. We need to put in what needs to be done at certain blood sugars. And it can be even so simple as putting down, 3.8 is the normal blood sugar. Not need to worry about anything. You need to put in sweet treats. Things like the glucose gel or the tablets, and instruct how to use it. Now, there should be a medication in any diabetics that's on insulin's kit, and that would be glucagon. And glucagon is a medication that up till recently was just given through shot. And lately it's become in through the nose. You just open up the little package and you squeeze it in your nose, which is great. I've just recently switched over. Oops. And this, maybe I'll turn around here. And this works extremely well for me. And you can ask your doctor, pediatrician about getting a prescription for some. In British Columbia, it's covered by MSP, and you want to have something that's easy. People get very leery about shots, and if they don't have to give your son or daughter a shot, but will know what to do with the medication, things go along a lot better. Now, it's important that your son or daughter know when they are to eat and how much. Now, I have two stories along this line. First of all, when I was, I guess, just sort of back from the hospital, sorry kids, I went back to school, and there was a paper fight, the snowball fight, I think they're called, where they scrunch up pieces of paper and you throw them. Waste of paper nowadays. But I can remember our social studies teacher was saying, no one's going to leave until I know who did it. Well, you know what? I was starting to feel very low, and he had us all stand up and then say, well, if you didn't throw a piece of paper, you can sit down, which actually all the class sat down. Sorry, just going downhill. But at that time, my teacher didn't know what to do. At that point, when I had a low, I had to go to the nurse's office. And nowadays, I can see on, the plans for school, do not send children to the nurses by themselves. Always send someone with you. And that's a good idea. I have to applaud that. If it's the plan mostly for type 1 diabetics who are on insulin is that they take the insulin before each meal or through the pump, and then they do it again before lunch. Now, the best way to tell if your son or daughter is low is to do a blood test. And they should always be welcome and feel they can do a blood test at school. They don't need to be self-conscious. They need to be able to freely do it. Now, for me, the Dextrose tablets don't work great. For me, it seems anything liquid, so it can be the glucose gel, but for me, not the tablets. For your son or daughter, tablets might work a hell of a lot better. There is gels now that you can just put into the lining of your mouth, and you will start to respond. But make sure, I went off a tangent here, but make sure that you have glucagon in the kit. Make sure that the school has all your phone numbers, and it even included in a kit, so that anytime they have to use any of the supplies, that you or your significant other are notified, and that they can resupply as needed. When should this be done? Well, it should be done the beginning of each school term. Now, when you see this, it'll be during the summer, so you'll be heading back to school September or August, and that's great. But then a lot of times after the Christmas break, things get worn down and not used. Well, you should restock and go through all the material, because your son's or daughter's diabetic treatment will change as we move up in years. The way I treat diabetes now is completely different. And a lot of times, every time I go to the doctor, I get a different type of diabetes. So you should be wary, not weary, but you should be alert enough to go and take a kit to a babysitter, school, anywhere where your sons or daughters may need to have immediate attention and pretty quick. And kids are going to have a lot of questions. So if they see little Johnny or little Marcia, going back and they get to have treats and everything during the school day, well, why not me? So I think it's wise. A lot of times parents or teachers or the school nurse can go and have a chat of what's happening and why they may need it. And if they see your son or daughter acting funny, well, by all means, tell the nurse, tell the school, tell the principal. Then you want to make sure that your son or daughter is taken care of. And you can put anything that you seem necessary into the kit. Now, I've had people get boxes where you can split it up and have low if he's okay or if he's high. Now, it's important that the school knows if for some reason treats. And I can remember, I think it was grade 7. And when we did topics and social studies, we had to do talks on countries. And people started bringing in treats from that country of what people wanted and, to give the sample of what food was like in that country. Well, you've got to be letting them know, well, if someone's planning to do that, well, that, you or your son or your daughter could bring in something so that they could have something when the class is having a treat. It could be low-carb candies. But it's, unfortunately, a lot of things that the kids want to bring into school is always going to be sweet. And you don't want to exclude your son or daughter. You want to, sorry, that's my pump. You want to ensure that your son or daughter are inclusive in all school activities. So, if they're having like a school dance, see that, there's some sugarless drinks there. And if he's sweating, get the blood sugar done as quickly as possible. But I have to admit, kids nowadays are a lot better controlled than I was. Now they're known better. When I was diagnosed, it was pretty much, well, oh no, we can't tell you that. You have to get it approved by the doctor. And I can remember, just as I was sort of gonna leave the hospital, they had me go up to the lab and see what was the blood sugar. And I can remember getting phone calls on the ward. For some reason, I answered the phone. I can't remember why. And I would get blood sugars and I'd write them down. Nowadays, that's something that would never happen. Because privacy and everything. And going through school is not such a big thing. Privacy is, as an adult, well, it could be. You're not allowed to be discriminated by a job, but there's some jobs people on insulin can't do. For example, you can't be a police, or you used to not able to be police constable. You can't be an airline pilot. So people want to keep their blood sugars secretive. So the one clue I would say to something along that is to tell somebody you trust at your job that you are a diabetic and the symptoms and what to do. Don't let it be a surprise. Just getting in the department. Anyway, I think that's it for today. Have a good day.